Okay, so I don't know if this is a special edition podcast of Oh Heck Nah, but it's definitely special. I do have a special guest. Me and Debbie have been so excited for like 2 weeks.
Yes.
I was like, should I ask her? Should I not ask her? And guess what? She asked me, and I was super excited. I love when they ask me. And so today we have the wife, the supporter, the backbone, the heart of Chris, his wife, Leanne. How are you doing? Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks, Malou. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I was so excited. Everybody doesn't know this, but she DM'd me and I was like, oh my God. I had literally DM'd you like 3 times and erased it. It's like, no, I'm not going to ask her. Should I ask her? No, this is so weird. I feel like a stalker. So thank you so much for reaching out, because a lot of people forget about the loved ones at home, correct?
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny that you say that you had like typed it and then erased it 3 times, because I think I did the same thing. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I only know of one other family member, wife of Wes Harper, Molly Harper, wonderful lady. She's the only one that I know of who's ever been on a podcast talking about what it's like for family members of calves that go out there and do this type of stuff. And it can really affect us in a lot of ways. So I thought, why not reach out and see if you're interested? And here we are.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea. You know, you never think of that.
Yeah.
What behind the scenes at home, what's going on while they're out there. Yeah, so we're very intrigued.
Yes, I actually did think about it really strong this time with Andrew. I mean, the pain on his face. It's my favorite episode, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's hard for me to watch. I really have not dived into the episode the way I normally do, because my heart is broken. And so I reached out, and I was like, gosh, I can't even imagine how hard it was for his family members to see that.
Oh, I know.
Oh.
And we know Andrew, and we've talked to Andrew, since he's been on the show, and he is such a good person with such a beautiful heart and soul. And when I found out that he was out there with Chris, I was so excited. And then just to see how it all played out, like my heart broke. Like when we were sitting there watching it, like I was crying. I was just like, oh my gosh, Andrew. I love him. He's amazing. So Chris was really lucky to have him. I think they were lucky to have each other.
I agree with you. So you're the backbone. I'm going to call you the backbone, right? So you're married to Chris. How long have you been married?
Oh, okay, so we got married July of 2015. So I think we're coming up to 7 years married, but 14 years together. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. What's the secret to your marriage?
You know what? I think the biggest thing is open communication. Like,
Nice.
We don't hide secrets from each other. We communicate openly. If something's bothering me, I'll say, hey, stop. You're being a dick, right? Or
that's right. Get him, girl. Get him.
Crack the whip. No. But he makes it easy. He really does. Mm-hmm. He's such a genuine, loving person. And when he loves so hard. Like,
oh, I can tell that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he loves all the parts of me, the bad parts, the good parts, and it doesn't matter. It's unconditional. And honestly, he just makes it easy. But the biggest thing definitely is communication and being appreciative of each other. When he does the dishes, thanks for doing the dishes. When I do the laundry, thanks for doing the laundry. So, yeah.
Perfect. That sounds really nice.
Even on the
Debbie,
show, I'm sorry?
No, I was going to say, Debbie, does Willie do the laundry?
Yes.
Oh, he does?
He does everything. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky. But you could tell on the show, too, how vocal he is, expressing his feelings. I loved that.
You know what,
Is he like that with you?
No, he's not like that with me.
I'm so glad I didn't have any coffee in my mouth.
Oh my God.
Trying to get any information out of this man is like trying to pull teeth. Like, we have that open communication, but sometimes there's certain things where I literally have to like pull it out of him, and I have to pull hard. And
Right. Still a man.
yeah, so
Still a man.
he's very
Still a
proud.
man.
Like, he's a man's man, you know? Like, he,
Mhm.
you know, a man doesn't cry, and a man doesn't do this, and a man doesn't do that, you know? But on the flip side, you're right. Like, he's really good at caring about other people, and he always puts everyone else before himself. Always.
Oh, you
So-
can tell. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can tell. You can see his heart.
Well, let's focus on you.
Yeah.
What about you attracted him? Like, what are your great qualities? Brag on yourself.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, what?
Yeah, what? I don't know. It must be that I'm a tall, leggy blonde. Chris,
Sexy.
Chris likes the tall, leggy blondes. Like Heidi Klum, for example. I'm no comparison to Heidi Klum, but she's pretty hot.
Oh, wait, hang on. I got to interrupt here.
Okay.
So, I went on the Emmys. Was it the Emmys, Debbie? The Emmys. And Heidi Klum was on the red carpet. And let me just tell you, you are way prettier than her. She is all smoke and mirrors. I'm not kidding. Heidi Klum was her and Lisa Rinna. I was really surprised. They're beautiful, but it's TV beautiful. And like when you can see someone's heart through their eyes, I think that's sexy.
Aww.
So I think that you're beautiful and sexy.
Well, thank you, Malou. That's very nice.
She has a picture on Facebook. I'm going to talk about your picture. Where
What
like her
picture?
hair is sticking up.
Oh, my
And I,
picture.
yes. We're gonna put it up on the video. She has a picture. I was like, I can't even handle this picture. I fell in love with you right when I saw that picture. It's
My
like
eyes are
something
all
about Mary.
crossed, and I've got
Yeah.
like the something about Mary hair sticking up. Yeah.
Oh, yes. You got to put that up so we can see.
Yeah, we're gonna put it up. And I fell in love with you right then and there. I can tell that you're beautiful from your soul, and like TV beautiful is something completely different than having a beautiful soul. So I think if we ask Chris, he would probably say you have a beautiful soul, and he might mention your legs too.
Well, maybe. I don't know, but I think I definitely hit the jackpot when he decided he wanted to be with me. So I did good. Actually, funny story. We were together for about 4 years, and we had moved in together. We were living together, and his mom was over one night. And I'm 7 years older than Chris. I don't know if you guys know that. So
I did not.
I'm 42. He's 35. And I was telling his mom one night, Chris was sitting right there, and I'm like, you know what? Biological clock is ticking, man. It's time to get married and have kids. Like, either he wants to be with me and tie the knot, or he doesn't. But I'm done wasting my time. Like,
Time's up.
let's get a move on. And the next day, I went to work, and this was at a time when Chris had a lot of clients downtown. He had a different job, and he'd often stop by the office and bring me a coffee or whatever. And so he called and he said, can I stop by? And I said, you know what? I am so busy today. I do not have time. Like, no. And anyways, about an hour later, he showed up with a coffee, and I was so irritated. Like, what are you doing here? I told you I don't have time. Like, and so he leans against my desk and he's like, what's today? And I'm like, I don't know, Tuesday? And he goes, yeah, but what's the date? So I look at the calendar and I'm like, well, it's April 11th. And he goes, well, what else is it? And I'm thinking, oh, crap. Like, whose birthday did I forget? Like, what's going on? So then he starts going on about how 411 means information and blah, blah, blah. And he's yabbering. I don't even know what he's saying. And I turn around and I'm like looking at the other girls I work with, and the girl right behind me, she's out with her phone and she's recording, and I'm like, what is she doing? And then I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm like, pay attention. What's he saying? What's he saying? And I turn around and I look, and he's down on one knee with the ring out, asking me to marry him. And I was like, oh my gosh.
And were you like, I'm still busy?
he had my attention after that. Yeah.
That's a great story.
that
That's a
is
good
beautiful.
proposal.
The
There
next
it works.
day he did it?
The very next day. He had actually already bought the ring and was, I guess, just waiting. And the conversation I had with his mother the night before, he was like, okay, well, now's
There's
the time.
my sign. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was my cue. I'm up.
Story. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful. I'm
That's a good
literally
story.
crying.
That was.
Oh, that was a good story. I know.
Well, thank you.
Well, go ahead, Debbie, because I'm crying.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I guess we want a little information on your end, like the background, of your story of how it all began for him.
Sure.
Naked and Afraid.
Because they contacted him, right?
They did. So, before we get into that, I have to give you a little bit of a backstory. Okay. So, a couple of things to mention. I've always been like a very secure and confident type of person. I don't really do the whole jealousy thing or anything like that. And I've always been good in that regard. And so if we fast forward to 2009 when I met Chris, you know, we had a few years in our relationship, and it was in 2018 we were just channel surfing on a Friday night and came across this show, Naked and Afraid, and saw two naked people in a jungle, and we're like, what the is this, you know?
Yeah.
And we got hooked. We were binge watching it. And so we binge watched it like all weekend. And then 2 days later, Chris forwards me an email from, I think it was Metal Flowers Media, like the casting agency. And they were reaching out to him because they had found him on Instagram and said, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. And would you be interested in applying? And I was like, is this the show that we just came across? Like,
2 days later.
Yeah, it was like 2 days later.
That's fate.
Yeah, right? And so Chris always tells the story wrong. He always says it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, but it was days later. So anyways, I was like, oh my gosh, like, you have to apply, right? And he was like, well, you know, I don't know. And he was humming and hawing about it. And I really, really encouraged him. I was like, Chris, like, you know, you're posting on your Instagram, you know, like, you've got the skills to do this. Like, mentally, like, you have the knowledge. Test yourself. Go out there. See if you can do it, right? And so finally he was like, okay. So he started, you know, going through the interview process. One thing I forgot to mention, actually, is so they contacted him in 2018, and in 2017, I forgot to mention, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, and I was having, you know, panic attacks. My mental health was, you know, spiraling downwards. It was so debilitating to the point where I had to take like 2 months off work. I was seeing every kind of doctor that you could think of. It was like a switch went off one night. I was just like, I'm not okay. So anyways, that year I did a lot of work to get my mental health better. So anyways, they contacted him, flew him out, and yeah, he's going to be on the show. So he goes and films in, I think it was April and May of 2019.
Were you better at that time or no?
What's that?
Were you feeling better at that time, or you were still down, or?
You know what? At that time, I thought I was better. I was better. I felt better. But in retrospect, look, like, hindsight's 2020. I now know that I was not mentally ready for him to go.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I say that is because like I felt better at the time, and I pushed him to go, and you know, so off he went, right? And so the first few days I was like, it's okay, you know, I just have to get into a routine. I have to get my independence back, you know, because Chris does all the cooking. I cannot cook. Like, I burn boiled water. Like, it's terrible.
Oh my goodness.
And so I think it was about day 4, after there was zero contact, we're cut off. I spiraled downwards, and I was all I could think about was, oh my God, Leanne, what did you do? You sent your man out into this crazy environment to go live naked with another woman, like sleeping next to her, whatever. She's going to be into the outdoors and survival and all that stuff that he's into, where it's not that I'm not into it, but I'm an armchair survivalist, like you ladies, right?
That's the best kind to be, baby.
That's right.
The best kind to be.
So, naked in your own home.
And so I started actually doing diary cams for myself while he was away. And like, I'm crying in tears, like, please don't leave me, you know, like, and I started like Googling like all these really sad love songs, and I would cry myself to sleep. And because you can't talk to anybody, like I can't talk to the producers or anyone. Like, nobody gives any family any updates as to how they're doing. And so I had to tell myself, okay, no news is good news. No news is good news.
Mm-hmm.
And
that probably skyrocketed your anxiety, though. But that was a good idea. That was a good idea. Like, film yourself. Mm-hmm.
And so, anyways, you know, Chris only made it to day 8, and you know, there was a couple of factors that I think took him out. Number one, you know, his partner got medically tapped, the heat blister on his foot. And I don't think he was as mentally prepared for it as he thought he was. You know?
I said that in my podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was mentally prepared. That's why, you know, I think he could have went through that pain on his foot, the blister, had he been stronger mentally.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I agree. So anyways, that night when he called me, when he got out, he was in tears. He was like, babe, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't do it. I had to tap. And I was like, oh, baby, you know, it's okay. You know, I'm still so proud of you. And, you know, like, of course, like, tell me what happened. And so he was telling me stuff. And I just, you know, was trying to be that supportive person for him, being the strength that he needed. And so anyways, he was home like a day or 2 later. And, you know,
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I thought they had to stay out there the whole 21 days,
no,
even if they tapped out.
I think the way it works is that the early, like, if you're close to your extraction, they might just keep you out there for the extra couple of days, right?
Okay.
But if you're not close to the 21, they'll send you home right away, right? Because otherwise they got to pay your accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
They got plenty of money. They're making plenty of money off of them. I'm going to interrupt you a little bit because I want to I want to focus on something that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, sure.
And kind of stay on track. So for me, I've watched the show a lot. Debbie's kind of new to it. But a lot of times they call them, you know, their jungle wives, their jungle husbands. And, you know, they go, oh, you're my jungle husband. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like, it really kind of irritates me. Jerry McCall, who I love to death, on one of his episodes, he fed like the other girl, and I was like, why is he feeding the other girl? She's a grown woman, she can feed herself. Like, I was like so mad at Jeremy, and so it really bothers me. So and I don't even have anybody out there. I'm just like, I don't even have a horse in the race. But for you, did you watch Naked and Afraid while he was out there? I hope you didn't, because if you saw any of that, it would probably bother you.
You know what? I did.
Torture. That's torture.
Well, one of my best friends, she lived right down the street from me, and so she'd come over, and we just binge watched Naked and Afraid, and I forgot what I was gonna say, but it kind of actually goes back to when he got home, because him and his partner keep in contact regularly, and he was in contact with her as soon as he was out and on the flight home and everything. And so I saw him texting her, and if you remember, I said earlier, I'm not a jealous person. I've always been very secure in myself and my relationships and what have you. But as soon as I saw that he was like texting her and she was texting back and she was sending little yellow hearts and stuff, I was like,
I know Debbie would not. Debbie, that's your. Debbie would not
that?
like that.
Who's on the phone?
Yeah.
Right
Exactly.
away.
And I was like, oh, is that her? And he's like, yeah, like she's really great. We got along great. She's a wonderful person. And I was like, oh. And so in my mind, I'm like, I don't want him to know that this is bothering me, because, it shouldn't be. And why is it bothering me? Like, I've always been very secure and I'm not jealous. And so it bothered me for quite a few weeks. And then I don't even know how, but Lorraine and I just started talking on Facebook Messenger. She is so freaking funny. I love that woman. I love her. And so now
that's probably all you needed then? That's probably all you needed. That's probably all you needed then, was to talk to her, get to know her.
I think so, yeah. But that just goes to show you, like, what mental health can do to you. Like, for somebody who's always been, very secure and not the jealous type, and then just to spiral downwards and think, oh my God, he's going to leave me for this other woman, and they're texting each other, and, she's sending them little yellow hearts, and I don't know
you get
how
in your own head.
This. Yeah, so you get inside your own head and you overthink things, and that can cause problems in a relationship, right?
And did it?
It didn't, because I was open with him. And I said, look, you know what? Like, I know she's your partner, and I know you guys probably have, an unbreakable bond, even though you were only out there together for 3 days. I can't imagine going through what you went through with her. But it bothers me how much you guys are texting back and forth. And so we sat down and we talked about it. And then, like I said, Lorraine and I started talking. And I've actually met Lorraine in person. We met up with a bunch of cast in Mexico last year, and it was totally on fluke. And she ran up to Chris and, like, put her arms around him. And I was like, I don't even care if Lorraine does that, but if anybody else does, look out.
Look, she was like, we about to go down. I like that about you. Keep that. No, but it's hard because even not the women and the men and the men, everybody, they have this special bond because they've gone through it together. It's something that you can't understand. It's something that I can't understand, not from the armchair survivalist point of view. But I've talked to other cast members, and they said that no matter, a lot of them just bond, even though they weren't on the show together. So it's hard for a wife or a significant other to understand that. And it sounds like Chris held it right. So if you're going to give advice to a woman whose husband's going out on the show, because they're gonna Google this like you, they're gonna go down that rabbit hole like, has anyone ever had sex on Naked and Afraid? They're gonna do that, and so they're gonna find our podcast, and so give them some advice. How do you handle when they get back?
When they
reach out to you.
What's that?
Call
reach
me.
out to you.
Yeah,
Leanne.
call me. I think the biggest thing I can say is don't overthink things. Try your hardest to understand how they're feeling and what they're going through while they're out there and afterwards.
Yeah.
And excuse me, be open and talk about it. That's simple, to the point. That's all I can say.
Right.
I think that's really good advice. I think that's really
all the feelings on the table. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I think because there's a lot of people on the show who have gotten divorced, or they go on the show and they come back, and I don't know if that's problems in the marriage before. Who knows?
Right.
But I think the advice that you gave is have that really good communication when they get back, make them happy, and I think that's really good, advice to give somebody. What do you think, Debbie?
Yeah. If I get asked about my marriage, what makes my marriage work? That's the first thing that comes to my mind is our communication. We'd be nowhere without it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's different when they come back. And like I had reached out to EJ when Chris was on his first challenge, and I said, look, he's coming home. How do I prepare for him? What can I do for him to make this easier for him? Like, he was mentally beating himself up. He was so disappointed in himself. And he started to, it affected his mental health too.
Of course, his confidence.
Yeah. And, I can't even remember what EJ said, but, I'm sure it was along the lines of, just be there for him, maybe have his favorite meal ready, whatever. Right. And you know what, when Chris got back, I took a few weeks off work, and he had a couple of weeks off before going back to work. And we went to couples therapy, and, and I was like, I don't even know if there's anything wrong in our relationship, but let's just go for a check-in. Let's get a tune-up, right? And so we went and had a couple of sessions of couples therapy, and our therapist, long story short, she basically told us that we are the unicorn couple. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean by that? And she said, your relationship and your marriage is so beautiful and so rare and so like majestic. People wouldn't think that it's real. So it's like a unicorn. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. And so ever since then, Chris and I have always called ourselves Team Unicorn.
Yes. As soon as she said it, I knew what she was talking about.
I did. Team Unicorn.
That's
Team
great.
Unicorn.
I love that.
Yeah.
Aww.
So, and you know what?
Go ahead.
I think that it actually strengthened our relationship and our marriage. It was like we started dating again. We were going to movies and out for dinner and holding hands. And you know how all that stuff just kind of falls to the wayside when you've been together with somebody for so long? It was kind of like a refresh and a renew.
Debbie's like, yes, I do know what that means.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, honey, we need a tune-up. I want to be a unicorn.
Well, I have a funny story to tell about Debbie. Me and Debbie don't talk most of the time before the podcast.
Okay.
We don't talk. So, I don't even know if Debbie remembers this story, but a long time ago, Debbie lived at the apartment complex that I worked at. And she was like, oh, I'm going out of town. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go visit Willie. Maybe I'll take him some dinner. And she's like, okay. And the next day she's like, Mary, because that's what she called me. Mary, I need to talk to you. I don't feel comfortable with you being alone with my husband. Don't go see him. And I was like, okay. And it didn't even occur to me, but I respected that. Me and Debbie are super close. Yeah. But, those were her feelings, and I respected them. And I was like, hey, that's a pretty good way to live your life. If you don't feel comfortable with something, speak up, say it.
Be honest.
Yes, be honest. And she was honest with me. So even if it's best friends, your husband, boyfriends, communication, I think, is always the key. And that's what you said, communication. And Debbie said it too.
Yeah, good for you. That's awesome.
Did you know I remember that, Debbie?
No, it sounds like me, but I don't remember it.
You don't remember?
It sounds like something I would say.
She is something that she said. She's like, you don't need to go see my husband when I'm not there. And it was, I still remember it to this day, and I kind of live by that. And I also love the fact that she was honest with me.
For sure. Like, how can you not respect something like that? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I have another question for you. Holding down, if you don't cook, how did you eat, girl, when he was gone? Who held down the household, the fort held down the fort.
You know what? I have to say I was eating a lot of pre-cooked rotisserie chickens that you can get at the grocery store. I was living on the, Delicio pizza. Chris's mom, she cooked for me and she brought over some stuff, so that was super helpful. I survived.
Right.
So
Go ahead, Debbie.
So, what about this time around? Were you guys ready? Were you prepared?
You know what? This time around was so much better.
Was it?
So much better. I knew what to expect. It wasn't my first time. And my mental health, like I've continued to work on it, throughout the years. My mental health was so much better.
That's great.
Yeah, and I had a really great support system too while Chris was away both times. My sister, was constantly reaching out to me. Chris's parents were, checking in with me to make sure I was okay. So I had really great support. And I did so much better this time. So much better. I was rocking it. My diary cams from this go around were so much better and so much more fun and entertaining. I was sitting there bawling.
She has a camera ready every day.
Yeah. She got her nails done, did. She was like, this is great. He's on vacation. She enjoyed the time. She was like, I'm going to eat cookies in bed.
The house didn't get as dirty as quick. I didn't have as much laundry to do. So,
right.
Yeah.
And then when he got back, it was like, oh, I missed you.
Yeah, I want to jump your bones.
Yeah, no, that's what I wanted to say, but I wasn't going to go there, but I'm sure it had to be amazing, so that's great. Kick him out the... You should kick Willie out the house for a couple weeks, Deborah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kick him
We're
out.
going to try it, yeah.
Naked and Afraid. Okay, what about you? Are you going to do Naked and Afraid?
Oh, never. No. I've thought about it, and...
Oh, so that means there's a possibility. So you're saying there's a chance.
No.
You thought about it.
No. I honestly don't... I know for sure I would not last 21 days. I cannot last 5 hours without eating, because... I don't know if it's just me and the way my body works, but literally, if I don't eat or I don't get enough sleep, I'm sick. I'm so sick. And I'd maybe make it to day 2 or 3 and I'd be like, that's it. I miss my chapstick. Send me home.
Me too.
Yeah.
We know the feeling.
So
no way, no how I would make it. Debbie wouldn't make it. Debbie wouldn't even get on the plane, I don't think.
No.
You know what I think they should do is, for all of us armchair survivalists that have thought about trying it but know that we wouldn't make it, just send us all out on an Excel and just whoever makes it the longest, whether it's a day or 2 days, just send 12 of us out, and half of us tap on day 2 and the other half tap on day 3.
Yeah.
Just to try it,
Right? Some spa somewhere.
Yeah.
Did you say a spa?
Some spa out in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, we're not. I don't even think I would do that. I have talked about having a mentor out there. I think people who have no skills, whatever, maybe sending you out there and having someone teach you something. That is something I've thought about for the show. But yeah, I don't want to have a duel with people who don't know how to do anything.
You know what though? Now that you say that, I don't know if you saw the episode where Matt and Gary actually took out 2 fans.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you were gonna send me out on a 14-day challenge with Matt Wright, I'd probably then might consider it. Maybe.
Yeah. Now, Matt is a unicorn in me. Debbie's kind of a virgin to the show, but Matt's the greatest.
Yes.
And he is just, he's a unicorn. I would never get Matt. Somebody asked me the other day if I would go out there, who would mine be? And I think mine would be, I think his name is Luke. He was on the one where his wife was like, you're going to cry. He's like, I don't cry. You've counted the number of times on my hand I've cried. And he cried. He was like, I want to go home. just because I would like to make fun of him for that. So I think that's who I would want to go on there with. What about you, Debbie? Who would you take as your mentor?
Mentor?
To teach you things so you don't die.
I would say Dan.
Dan Link?
Dan Link. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a
Dan
good
Link.
choice. Yeah.
And I was going through and I'm like, I know what episode she's talking about. Because I was like, what episode is that? We were talking about something and she's like, you mean the episode where he threw the knife at the bird? I was like, is that what I'm talking about? So I went looking for it and I'm like, oh, but he killed the bird.
Right.
He got the bird. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's the one I mean. Him.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I would.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Debbie, any other questions that you had? Because we've already been talking for over 30 minutes. It just seemed like 5 minutes to me.
I wanted to know a little bit about the lion. What is it?
The lion.
The website. The website.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, can you give us a quick rundown on that?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chris has really been trying to get his, I guess you could call it a passion project. Be a Lion Outdoors.
Be a lion.
Yeah. And it's basically just for him to, share his survival capabilities and skills. And for those that want to, learn and grow, that's a place where they can go. And I mean, he's got a YouTube channel, he's got his website, he's got the Facebook page, he's got a link tree, he's got swag.
Yeah, stay wild, baby, stay wild.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's just all things survival, all things, Christopher James, the Canuck and the Buck. And we're just trying to grow that community and get people interested in the outdoors, because everybody spends too much time on, their social media devices these days. So I just try and support them in that too.
And she
That's
also,
awesome.
you're also part of the fan page. You're like one of the admins for that as well, correct?
For the Canuck and the Buck, yeah.
And what about
for fans of Naked and Afraid and Excel? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. She's one of the, she's one of the admins. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And when I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, I just love Leanne. She supports her husband so much. She just loves him." And we were gossiping about you. And I was like, "Give me the tea." And they're like, "Oh, she's just great." And I mean, you do so much for him, and I just think that's amazing. You're dealing with mental issues. You talk about it. You help other people. I mean, where do you find your strength? Is it just love?
You know what? I get it from Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get emotional.
Don't make me cry. I've already cried once. I've said I've never cried. Do not make me cry again. Go ahead. Talk about Chris.
That's a really hard question. And you know what? I don't know how I do it, And honestly, like, the first thing that comes to my mind is that I get it from Chris, because like I said, when he loves so hard, and he does so much, and I don't know how to give back in any other way other than to follow in his footsteps,
Right.
He's so passionate about being there for other people, and he's taught me that. And I'm his biggest fan, but I'm also his biggest supporter. So,
And you're everywhere too. And I'm like, you support everyone that I've seen.
I do. I definitely try
awesome.
to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Big
life
supporter.
gets. Thank you. Life gets busy. I work in financial fraud, so things are a little crazy, but I definitely try to, support.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
Because you work in financial fraud.
I'm sorry. It's time to wrap it up.
I'm like, what?
She's gonna bust you, Debbie. Oh my gosh.
Stop recording. No. I'm kidding.
No, do
She
you
got
really work in financial fraud?
No, she's scared you're gonna bust her.
Oh, okay.
I was throwing a joke in there.
Your joke was horrible, Debbie.
She didn't get it. Okay, that's all right. Moving on.
It's the blonde hair. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, that's. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to focus on? Because this is, I mean, you've given us such great advice and moved us and made me cry. You almost cried. You know, is there anything else that you really want to tell the people out there who are dealing with their family members being out, and that, you know, the best thing that you can do for them?
You know, the only thing I could think of to say is, no matter how difficult it is for you when you're trying to survive while they're out there, just remember how hard it is for you. It's probably 100 times harder for them. Mm-hmm. And when they come home, just try and be there in the best way that you can. And while you're dealing with your struggles, there's so many resources available. Reach out to friends, family, you know, crisis centers, things like that. And just do your best.
And the counseling, I think the counseling was a really great idea as well. I didn't even think about counseling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
You know,
great idea.
It was great. We had a lot of fun. We only went to like 1 or 2 sessions. I guess that's all we needed, but it was great.
Well, me and Leanne were supposed to have a head-to-head about Chris, who knows Chris better. But after she did this thing, I'm a little scared. I think I'm going to back out of that competition. Actually, the person who was supposed to give us the questions never got back to me. So I don't have the questions, but I thought you might want to go ahead and give me a couple quizzes about Chris. Ask me a couple questions, see if I can get them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll start out easy on you, okay? Okay. What's Chris's favorite animal?
Oh my God, a dog?
Malou!
What? I don't know his favorite animal.
Be a lion!
How would I know that? And I'm a lion, I'm a Leo. Okay, that's one down. See, I knew she was going to kick my butt. This is what I was going to about. Okay, another one. Be a lion, be a lion.
Okay. Oh, gosh. I don't know. Debbie, can you think of anything?
Like question-wise?
Yeah. Okay.
Challenge me.
Challenge you. Okay. I
already failed. I'm going to ask you a couple questions of things I want to know.
Okay.
About Chris that we don't know. So, what is his favorite thing to cook?
Mexican. Well, I don't know. Mexico is his favorite food. It's his favorite country. But his favorite thing to cook? I don't know. He loves barbecuing. So maybe anything on the barbecue?
All right, wonderful.
Maybe I should call him up here and we'll get him.
Oh, no, don't get him up here. Don't get him up here. This is a girls' session. Boxers or briefs?
Boxer briefs.
Boxer briefs. You know, I like those boxer briefs. They're very comfortable. I wear them too.
I do too.
Yeah. Any other questions for you, Debbie? You want to know about Chris? Something juicy. We want the dirt. Give him
juicy.
Let
me think.
I've got a question for you, Malou.
Okay.
Does Chris have any piercings? Yes or no?
I'm going to say yes just because you asked me that, but I don't know where it is.
Okay. Yes.
Where is it?
On his nipple.
Ears. Oh.
Okay, listen.
You'll never see it in the challenge, though, because he takes it out.
I would love to see your husband's nipples. I have never seen a man. I've never seen a man in person with a nipple.
Oh.
Piercing. Never, ever. Yeah, never.
Well, he had one professionally done, which ended up crooked, and then he had one that he did himself, and so
which is straight.
Perfectly straight. And so when he went out on his first challenge, the one that was done professionally, he couldn't get back in. And so now he's just got the one that he did himself. But he did it with a safety pin laying on the floor and there's blood everywhere. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh my God. That's crazy. All right, Debbie, what was your question?
About
Chris.
I was going to say, does he really like African sweet water? No,
if
that's
only
the
if it
only thing I
has
thought.
legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, only if it has legs.
See,
Oh my
right?
gosh,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
so funny. I thought they made such a good couple.
Partnership.
Partnership.
Yeah, they did.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did. Yeah.
They really
So
did.
I really did ask the question about the boxer briefs, really to see your reaction more than me really wanting to know. So how does it affect you where all these women are fans, they're interested in your husband? I mean, that's the real reason why I asked that question. I wanted to see your reaction. Does that bother you? Can it get in the way? Don't you think that's a good thing to know, Debbie? Like, that's weird, like, because women want to know.
It's funny that you bring that up, actually, because at one point in time I encouraged Chris to start a TikTok account.
Mm-hmm.
And he had one for a while, and one of his videos went viral, and he got a huge following of women, and they were calling him a lumber snack.
Ooh.
The
So-
lumber snack.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
And you didn't like that, did you? I wouldn't.
it didn't bother me at first, but when it started to bother me is when I was noticing all these women commenting, "Oh, you're so hot," blowing kisses, "You're so sexy," and Chris is the type of person where he wants to truly interact with his followers, fans,
His
friends,
fans.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was liking and commenting on like every single one. And it got under my skin. And I was like, okay, like enough is enough. Like these women don't know that you're married. You haven't publicly announced that. And
Mm-hmm.
fine, if you know that Chris is married and you want to ask questions about him, you know, for example, Malou, you know, boxers or briefs, doesn't bother me.
I'm at it, yeah.
But, and you know what? If you want to call my husband hot or sexy, absolutely. But you need to know that he is happily married to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's hard to deal with. I mean, it's a fine line. Like, it feels weird. Oh, I want to see your husband's nipple. Oh, does he have boxers or briefs? I mean, I don't know how you deal with it. I think it's because you have a strong marriage.
yeah, and you know what? You're exactly right. And that's not to say that I don't fall apart sometimes or need a little bit of reassurance. But when that happens, I just communicate that to Chris. Hey, I'm feeling this way. I need a little bit of reassurance, you know, tell me how much you love me type of thing. And I don't always have to ask for it either. You know, he's very good. He tells me every day that I'm beautiful. He tells me every day how much he loves me.
Aww.
He sends me a good morning text every morning. You know, and I've heard from his parents, they're like, "Oh my gosh, Leanne, like he is so in love with you, like he'll never leave you." At one point I was sure that he was gonna leave me for somebody, and so
I think all women think that at some point in their life, right, Debbie? Like, we're all
Yeah.
like, oh, please don't leave me.
Yeah.
When we're the best thing that's ever happened to them in their lives. But yet we're afraid.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's true.
he's really great though. What you see on TV, you know, that softness and that caring, that's genuinely Chris. That is him. It's not just for TV. That is him.
Mm-hmm. With the first episode, he said something very, like, I don't remember what it is at the moment. Of course, I can't think about it. But he was like, yeah, if someone says something to me, I'll stare you in the face until you...
Oh,
you know,
yeah, I'll stare daggers through you.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, he's scary. He was a little bit more tougher the first time around, but I think that was, you know, I think he was trying to be tough. And then the second one, he just opened up and look how great it was.
Yeah, I think the first time he probably felt like he had something to prove. And the second time, you know, I think he still felt like he had something to prove, but he was a little less cocky about it. Like, you know, he didn't realize what he was in for the first time. And
Yeah, he had something to prove to himself. Before, I think he was trying to prove to everyone else how great he was. The second time, he was proving it to himself. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah. And you know what? I just want to say thank you for calling him out on the cuddle thing.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm like, if you need to cuddle for warmth, cuddle for warmth. And you totally caught that and you called him out on it. So
Yes, and he cuddled a little bit. Like, I saw Leanne hold him a couple times, and I think, you know, I was like, because you don't want to die. You need that warmth just so you can stay in the game, so.
yeah. Yeah. But Lorraine's awesome. I love her.
Yeah.
To death.
Oh, I called her the wrong name. Lorraine is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tag this because I thought this would be a really good podcast to have, Debbie, for like all the other future contestants' partners. But I think this is just good relationship advice.
Yeah.
And you know what? I wish that there was like a group where spouses and family and friends could go for support, but there can't be one because I can't tell other people when my husband's out on a challenge.
Exactly.
Right.
You know? So
Right.
that's the sucky part.
So they need to come listen to the podcast and know that everything's going to be okay. It might be rough. It might be tough. I know
Get
you're
her
worried
advice
about your
here.
man out there cuddling, but everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
Right?
Your man or your woman. I mean,
Yes.
Right.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Yeah, I think it's very strange. Every time I see somebody, I just watched one today. Excuse me. I just watched one today. It was Diggy. Or I believe it was Diggy. Someone asked for a hug, and they wouldn't even hug. He's like, oh, I'm married. And, like, if you're going to be out there on naked and afraid, I see them, clean each other's behinds or underarms, right, Debbie? We're shocked every time we see that. Just, they're not out there to hook up. They're there to thrive and prove something, to gain something about themselves. They're not looking for anybody else. So anybody who's going out there, they definitely need to listen to this podcast. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
I definitely. And I think even for those people that aren't in relationships, being intimate with somebody out there while you're dirty and gross and full of bugs, that is like the furthest thing from your mind. You're focused on, what am I going to eat? How am I going to stay warm? Have I drank enough water? Like, that is the furthest thing from anyone's mind. I would hope, or from what I've been told.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, just health-wise, you couldn't do it.
How do you have energy if you haven't eaten?
Yeah.
Right. I would lay there the whole time.
You would lay there the whole time?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to tap today, but I'm just going to sit here. That'd be tough.
I think they're going to approach Leanne about being on the show. I really do. I would love to see you out there. I think they will. I think she would be perfect on this show.
No.
Look at her. She's like, no way.
No.
Never
Okay,
say
I'm
never.
Talk to Chris. I'm going to talk to Chris. I mean, that's it. I'm calling it. I'm going to talk to Chris. But no, seriously, thank you so much for being on the show. We talked for a straight hour. This has been so beneficial. You made me cry. I cannot believe I cried on camera. I'm so mad about it.
I'm sorry.
I'll never forgive you, but I love you.
Oh, and I just want to show you one last thing here. You see these?
What is that? Is that a tooth?
It's a bone from
It's actually earrings. They're shark teeth that Chris's first partner made for me. Lorraine. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
See, and she has on his necklace. It's a bond. It's something that we'll never understand, Debbie, because we won't never be there. But it's a bond, and I think that is so great. It's a family. And nobody should try to mess with that family, because if not, they're going to have to deal with Leanne.
That's right.
So that's right. Well, thank you so much. It was great. Anything else before we go? Anything else you want to show or share?
Not that I can think of. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I love talking with you ladies. It was lots of fun. And I just hope that this message gets across to whoever needs to hear it. And hashtag mental health matters.
Yes. I was going to try to do some kind of close. Me and Debbie have awkward closes, but I think she did it perfectly. Hashtag mental health matters. And I think that's all we need to say, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have a
so
good night.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.